Draft rooms that we most like or would like to be in, as the case may be, on draft day 2021. That is today's topic. Chris, you have a trivia question for me to determine pick number 1.
Running backs in the first round, Mike. Running backs in the first round. Can you name the last 3 first-round running backs drafted by your team, the Minnesota Vikings? First round. You can do this. It's not crazy. It's all within the last 30 years.
Yeah, no, I think I got it. It's Adrian Peterson. He's the most recent.
Right.
Robert Smith before that.
Yep.
And then Chuck Foreman.
Nope. Sorry.
Damn it.
Last
missing?
30 years. Remember, I told you didn't listen to me. That's usual. Yes. Michael
Well,
Bennett.
I never listened to you.
Bennett, 2001.
Michael Bennett, 2001.
Yes.
Michael Bennett. Deuce McAllister was sliding down the board. That's who the Vikings wanted. The Saints took him, and then the Vikings took Wisconsin speedster Michael Bennett, who ran like a 4.21 or something like that. And
No,
it was great.
You're not a super fan. You're not a super fan. You just know every draft of that team, right?
I got the trivia question wrong. I clearly got it wrong. I'd forgotten all about Michael Bennett because he got a foot injury, and that was that. Okay, you got the first pick. Draft room you'd most like to be in this year?
Well, okay. I mean, there's some good options here. There definitely is one. I tend to err here on the ones that, got a lot of picks. I think that's where I'm going to go to here first. And I think the first one I'm going to go to that at least is really interesting to me is the Dolphins. The Dolphins sitting at number 6, of course, have the pick at 18. Have another pick towards the top of the second round. So there's going to be a lot of action there for them to make moves, do things like that. I'd love to hear the dialogue at 6 if it's like, depending on what receivers are on the board, all of those type of things, right? At pick 18, they're in a spot too where with the other picks they have, they could trade up a few picks, trade back a few picks. There's just so much flexibility. So I kind of find the Dolphins the most intriguing one.
I'm stunned. All the time we spent talking about what the 49ers
I already know what's going on there.
You don't want to be there. Okay. But I want to see the reactions, the body language, the subtle eye rolls. I'd be constantly scanning. The radar is just oscillating like a fan, checking out everybody. How are they reacting to that 3rd overall pick? And then what else are they going to do to try to make that team better? But because of that 3rd overall pick, for the precursor, the build-up, as they keep it all very secret, what can I glean? And then again, after it's done, how are they acting? How are they reacting? Plus, I mean, certain things are legal in California. I'm surprised you wouldn't want to be out there for a few days.
You're right. I mean, sign me up. Let me go. Come on. Here we go. I listen, I thought about them. I did. We've talked about it so much. And you would want to be there, though. You're right. To see the reactions of everybody. See the reactions of the scouts, of the guys who, don't agree with the pick and all that. That would be very funny. And I've gotten to see that a little in New England, which was interesting to see too. All right. The next one for me, I think I'd want to go to Jacksonville. Yeah, it's the number 1 pick. I get that. But again, it's all the other picks too that added to the fact of I'd kind of want to see Urban Meyer in his first draft and what, the whole situation is like for him, how he handles it, what's his dialogue like with Trent Baalke, all of that, how they interact with Shad Khan. It's going to be interesting. I think this has been a bit of a culture shock for Urban Meyer. Not that he hasn't handled it, really well, but like he said, I mean, he said free agency was different. He wished things could be tweaked that way. I'd be intrigued to see one of the greatest college coaches of all time in his first NFL draft.
Very underrated storyline, too. The fact that Trent Baalke and Jim Harbaugh, the Michigan coach that Urban Meyer beat every time he played him, hated each other. Never talked to each other.
About that.
Despised each other, and now Baalke is
together.
Urban Meyer's right-hand man.
That's great.
Let's see how long they go until hey, by the way, tell your dad I said hi. All right, next one for me.
Yes. Screw you, Jim.
New England Patriots. I got to be there. When are they ever going to have 15? When have they had 15? When are they going to have 15 again? Are they going to try to trade up? And what's Matt Patricia doing now? He's like doing all these different jobs. He doesn't have a title. He's doing all this stuff. He's negotiating contracts. He's making phone calls. Who's really there as the right-hand man for Bill Belichick? I think if you're in that draft room, you're going to see that Matt Patricia is a lot closer to the Nick Caserio role than maybe anyone else currently in that building would be, with all that talk about the things Patricia's doing. Not really a coach, more of a GM. And Peter King said when the Rams interviewed Patricia to be the head coach, they came away from it thinking that guy would be a hell of a GM in the NFL.
It's I hear you there. I mean, it's the Patriots. You'd always like to be in their room. I mean, I worked there, and I still wanted to be in the damn room. I was on the outside of the room, having no clue. But, I mean, anytime Bill Belichick is talking about football, I want to hear, because there's going to be deep-rooted, smart logic in that conversation. And you're right. It's always interesting to see kind of the pecking order. You don't know how things work in New England. Nobody really does. I mean, nobody. The people that work there don't really know how it works. I think that's part of the reason a lot of them don't succeed when they leave sometimes, because they're like, I don't really know what went on to make those decisions. I was always on the other room doing what I had to do. So I think there's something to that. I would love to be there.
One thing.
Yeah.
One thing I would love to have seen 9 years ago.
Right.
The year that you were there for the draft.
Right.
When Bill Belichick and Burge Nigerian are meeting, and Burge has the list of all the people who may or may not be invited into the draft room, and they say Simms, the Belichick, God, no. The Belichick, just a classic.
Right. Let me just
roll
tell
his
you,
eyes and shake his head.
That was so not possible of happening. That never even got to that conversation. They knew I was already.
You weren't even on the list.
I wasn't.
You weren't even on the list.
That list in there is a short list. Let me just tell you, it's like 4 people and the Kraft family. That is all that's in there. And everybody else is just a spectator. So
I'm surprised the Crafts get in.
Yeah, they do. They get in. Yep, they got the money to do it, so they're allowed to. I'm going to go with the Ravens as my last pick. I know the Jets got a lot of picks and are interesting. Howie Roseman and the Eagles are interesting too. But I think with the Ravens making this big trade, and just how they orchestrate the end of the draft, I think would be interesting to be involved in that. I have such great respect for their ability to scout players and build a team and do all of that. It's a weird year in the draft. There's not a lot of high-end talent that will be there to be available at the end of the first round. I would love to just see kind of their thoughts. What's Eric DeCosta and John Harbaugh talking about? And, of course, they're a trade-down possibility too. So I'd be all in favor of having a front-row seat to that.
I'll say Cowboys first preliminarily if it's on the yacht, but assuming it's not on the yacht,
yes.
I'll go with the Panthers. I'm just intrigued by this dynamic between Matt Rule, Scott Fitterer, David Tepper, and they're going to be maybe calling up to trade north or getting calls to trade down, and how do they parse all that out? And the chaos theory we talked about earlier, if Mac Jones ends up not being the pick at number 3 and starts to slide, does Sam Darnold suddenly become a very short-term option in Carolina?
Yeah, I would think so. And then really, I mean, you would think that if the quarterback thing didn't happen, that they could be a really big trade down target. So that would be a fun one to be involved in.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.